Glory be to God. This is Pastor Edemadum from King's Yard Ministry. We want to continue. In our last session, we spoke about learning obedience by suffering. You know how the suffering of a Christian is. I gave you the Jesus example in the garden is having your own way, and if you drop your will and submit to the will of God, at that point you have learned your lessons and you have obedience. So Hebrew 5:8 says Jesus learned obedience through his suffering. Some of you, your experiences don't even give you any lesson. So you are cursed. If I say you are cursed, it's not like a demon is cursing you or the devil is cursing you. If you are cursed, it means there's a cycle. Something unpleasant keeps repeating in your life. That's a curse. And you deal with it by obedience. Drop your will and accept the will of God. Jesus said, not thy will, but your will. He learned it through his suffering. And I told you about the Gethsemane experience. You must have it, and then you can go to the cross. Because the death on the cross was not actually death, but it was a resurrection, because there was water and blood, symbolic of birth. When a pregnant woman goes into labor, that's what you see. But in the Gethsemane, there was only blood. It was dying to yourself and receiving something better. In 2022, we want to encourage you. So let's look at the example of Abraham. The example of Abraham. So we look at Romans chapter 4, verse 17. As it is written, I have made thee a father of many nations before him who he believed, even God, who raises the dead and call those things which be not as though they were. When you read, this is talking about Abraham, that God made a promise to Abraham that through your seed, God promised him a son, that Isaac would be born. And then God said, after Isaac was born, God said, Abraham, just sacrifice your son. Now, don't be caught up in purpose and forget the instruction of God. Now, the same God that gave Abraham the purpose said, sacrifice your son. So, don't be caught up in pursuing the purpose of God and ignoring the voice of God. He gave you the purpose. He is the owner of the purpose. He is the executor of the purpose. So if he says, do this, don't say you have given me a purpose, and so I'm not going to sacrifice the same object of the purpose. Listen to the voice of God. Abraham was not sentimental, didn't tell the wife, just moved and then attempted to sacrifice. And the Bible is saying that why would Abraham do this? When God has said the same seed, he said, he made thee a father of many nations before him, whom he believed, even God, whom quickeneth, gives life to the dead. Listen to he gives life to the dead. Now, Hebrews chapter 11, verse 17 gives clarity to this one. By faith, Abraham, when he was tried, offered up Isaac, and he that had received the promises offered up his only begotten son. God gave him the promise, and then the object of the promise had to be sacrificed. Look at the verse 18. Of whom it was said, that in Isaac shall thy seed be called. Through Isaac you will produce many nations. Why would God ask me to sacrifice, to give these things? Verse 19. Accounting that, believing that, perceiving that, some versions say, judging that. Who is judging? Abraham. What was his faith? Judging that God was able to raise him up, even from the dead, from whence also he received him in a figure. So why would Abraham submit absolutely to the voice of God? Because by faith he knew that God was able to raise Isaac up from the dead. Don't just know God. Know God as somebody who is able to bring back. He says, I am the resurrection. He doesn't give you the resurrection. He gives you himself. And he's the resurrection. Know God. When God says drop your will, anything that is keeping hold of you in the world and does not want you to serve God better this year, leave it. For you've not lost it in your hand, your life. You only lose it in your hand, but you have it back in your life. Just like Job. His family said, curse God and die. That's his wife. He cursed the day he was born. He lost everything. But 3 people came trying to shift his faith. But he stood his ground in the end. He said, my Redeemer liveth. You know what that means? A Redeemer is somebody who buys back, who gives back. So Job also by faith knew that what he had lost, God was going to give him back. This year, drop everything that is keeping hold on you and then embrace the purposes of God. Embrace the voice of God. Submit to his will. For he is a God that can even raise the dead. Bring life to the dead. If you know him that way, when you leave that thing, you have not lost that thing. You only lose it from your hand by to come back into your life. This is Pastor Edamadum. God bless you.